Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Alex King on Thursday, October the 17th, 2019. Happy birthday, Alex King.
Yay!
It's now 4 p.m. in New York, 1 p.m. Los Angeles time, 9 p.m. London time, 5 a.m. Tokyo time, and 6 a.m. in Sydney, Australia. Wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I am happy to report that progress is being made on editing the second episode of The Grass is Greener. And Alex, you heard the first version of Scene 2, the first cut, so to speak.
The first cut, yeah.
The first cut, and it's starting to come together.
It's starting to come together. I'm actually very proud of this episode.
It's a good one. It's a very good. Of course, they're all good so far. All two of them.
Yeah.
But,
all two of them.
And I know you wanted to have it done in time for your birthday. That's not quite happening, but I figured at least I could get a scene done for you, so I got a scene done for you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
we do have a couple of recordings to get done by this weekend. Charlie has to re-record a couple pieces, and Carissa has to do two more lines, just 2 lines, and then she'll be done.
That's it.
Yep. Once again, I'm learning more and more about all of the frailties of using consumer-grade equipment to create all this sound. I didn't even notice it when we did recordings with Carissa earlier, but she was in a room space that was very echoey, so everything sounds like she's in a small room, which is challenging. Yeah. So some of the time I'm just grinning and bearing it and saying, let's just hope the audience doesn't notice, because not much. I can't just do a room extract, you know.
Right, you can't, no.
But no, it's all good, and I figure with all the sound effects that are going to be in, hopefully people won't even notice. They won't.
It won't matter. It won't matter.
It'll just work. You know, one day we'll have our own sound studio, sound stage, and we'll be able to do it all professionally.
I'll still be working from home, but that's okay.
Actually, I don't think so. I think by then you're going to be out and about regularly because you're already making strides in that direction.
All right, we'll see. Stress.
Now, before we started, people actually may have heard this if they're listening to the live stream because they may have picked up the tail end of the conversation. But at the last possible second, you came up with a rather interesting topic. I'm not sure exactly why this one occurred to you, but I'm going to let you introduce it because, frankly, I have no idea how to approach it right now.
Well, literally, maybe 3 seconds before we went on, I was like, oh, let's talk about how you manifest your way into sticky situations. I originally said prison, but it could be any sticky situation.
Yeah, prison, I would say, is fairly sticky. Joel also would agree with that. He knows what that's like.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you see his mugshot the other day?
I did, yes.
I was like, oh, he was cute.
He may have been cute, but he was about to get thrown in the slammer, so he wasn't looking very happy.
Yeah. Well, no one's usually
looking or something, but
that was a good mugshot though. Like a lot of people are like drunk before they take that shot or under some sort of influence. But he was like, "No, here I am. I'm ready to go." So
that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing, but you never actually see mugshots of people smiling, which is not terribly surprising. But you just don't see that.
Well, they tell you not to smile.
Which is strange because I would think that teeth would be an identifying feature, but what do I know?
Good point. I'm going to bring that up to my sister and my stepmom, see what they say. They're police officers. FYI.
They're on the right side of the law. That's it.
Yeah. I don't want you to think they go to prison all the time, so that's why I'm asking.
But sticky situations, I mean, well, first of all, if you're in a sticky situation, the hardest part from a conscious creator perspective is recognizing you got yourself there. Mm-hmm. I mean, that takes a bit of putting the ego aside and a bit of self-honesty and a little bit of a sigh and like, oh, God, I did it again.
I think that's why consequences are so important in those situations because then you have time to sit and reflect on how did I get here?
And one of my favorite things to remember about such situations is that consequences, and I love your choice of the word, consequences are not something, in my opinion, that have to be imposed because the universe delivers them, and the universe does a pretty good job. In fact, I kind of really get the sense that we are guided in many, many ways. And one of the ways that we're guided is, we start attracting the wrong stuff. And so the universe sends us stuff that is kind of like a tap on the shoulder, and then we ignore the tap on the shoulder, and the tap on the shoulder becomes a pat on the shoulder, and eventually it works its way up to the 2x4 with a spike in it, because you aren't paying any attention, right?
Right, exactly.
So somebody going into prison, that's somebody who was not paying attention for a long time.
A long time, yes, definitely.
Yeah, and basically they ran out of room.
Or they were paying attention and chose to ignore it.
Well, yes, it could be either one. They could have been deliberately ignoring it,
Yep.
And that has a whole psychology all to itself about why would you do that?
Yeah, exactly. Because that's when you have like your first strike, your second strike, and then your third strike when you're done. So it's like if you didn't learn your lesson from the first few strikes, then I'm sorry, you deserve to be there.
And it's tough if you grew up in Great Britain because they play cricket, not baseball. There's no third strike, and it just goes right to, okay, you missed, you're out, you're done.
Sir. Okay.
I don't know why I said that. It just came to my mind.
I'm Caribbean, and I still don't understand how cricket is played. Like, my father tried to teach me, and I'm like, so, like, what are the rules, and where's the points, and what's happening here? He's like, I don't know, I just hit the ball.
I'm convinced that they make the rules up on the spot. I mean,
I feel like they do. That's what it looks like to me when I go to a cricket game. I'm like, and how long does this thing last?
It can go on for days.
Oh.
Yes, it's...
Man alive.
I've never tried playing cricket. I really don't have an interest in it, but I've heard reports about matches that went on. And I guess the top score is like 400 or something like that. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Don't you lose interest after the first 75?
Well, that's the thing. I don't understand the point system. So 75 could be the first point. Like, you don't even know. Like,
it's not quite that bad. I have some knowledge of that. I know. The most points, the most runs, because they're runs, the same as in baseball, the most runs you can get is 6. And you get that on the cricket equivalent of a home run.
Right, okay.
But so you can't get 75 in one swing.
Okay, good to know.
Which is probably good, yeah.
Yeah, because that's a lot of running.
It's a ton of running, yeah. Now, the other thing is they don't have to run 90 feet like we do in baseball. They're
doing suicides. They're just running back and forth.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little rough on the knees, but other than that, it's...
What sport isn't rough on the knees?
I give up.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Ping pong?
No, even then you got to bend.
I guess so. Yeah, that's true. Chess?
You're sitting. Your knees are bent. How long? Depends on how long the match is. You don't get time to get up and stretch because you can't leave the board. So.
See, now this is a great example of how you can really work yourself into a place where the universe just keeps tapping you on the shoulder because we're trying to make it as simple as possible, and yet we insist on finding all different ways that we can get hurt in the knees doing this thing.
Oh, man.
We are torture chambers. But anyway.
Facts.
So all right. I have to ask, what made you think of this topic? There must have been something that brought this to mind when you were...
Okay. So, honestly, I was on the phone probably about 5 minutes before this, and I was talking to my friend, my B-fam, and I said, hey, I need a topic for today. I got nothing. What do you got? And he's just telling me random things, breastfeeding, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with what we talk about. And then he said, what about R. Kelly? And I was like, what? How is it? And then I started thinking, I was like, because then we started talking about, is he in prison yet? How did he manifest his whole situation? And I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. And then as I was thinking about that, the, what's her name? Huffman, who got in trouble for the college scam, popped up on my screensaver. And I was like, okay, that's today's topic.
That's right. Yeah. She got sentenced to 2 weeks, I think it was.
Yeah. What is that?
14 days, I believe.
Yeah, 14 days, sir. I'm supposed to do the dad jokes. Anyway.
Oh. Well, we didn't work out the roles before we started the show. That's what the problem.
We didn't. You're allowed. You're allowed.
Okay. Yeah, that whole college scam thing has really been quite the the social media story. Lots of people commenting on that.
Yeah.
Getting upset about it and so forth. I guess I can understand the upset. Although I have to admit, I kind of categorize it with everything else that's external. Because it's external. I am affected by this terrible thing outside of me is what it's all about.
Yeah, I'm not.
In fact, the people who are commenting are not affected 9% of the time. They're just, they want to get in on the action while the action is good to get in on.
Facts.
Which tells me they really need to get a life.
Facts.
Something better going on.
That's what I was saying when he was like, was R. Kelly in prison yet? And I was like, I don't know. It was not my job to watch him.
I mean, it wasn't your day? No.
It definitely was not my turn. I tell you that.
Yeah. Okay. Do I dare ask what he was involved with? I don't even know.
Are you kidding?
Anytime I see the names of these people who are in various kinds of trouble, I see the name, I say, okay, I'm done with this, and I move on to the next thing I'm looking at.
I understand how we got here. Okay, so this is how it went down in Chinatown. So R. Kelly has been known for dating younger women, and by younger I mean he married Aaliyah at the age of 14.
Ah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now he's in trouble for having a sex cult in his grotto. And
a sex cult.
A whole cult with multiple women kept prisoner, although they were mentally kept prisoner. So that's his thing. He's like, they could have left any time they wanted. Could they though? Could they though? You guys got to watch the documentary that his ex-wife did. It was a 7-episode expose on his whole situation that dates back to when he was a kid and how he came to be who he is now, and no one ever told him no in life, and that's part of the problem. So, yeah, so he's in a bit of trouble right now, to say the least.
Are these women underage?
They were at the time. They have grown, and then they age out. So R. Kelly gets rid of them at the age of 18 to 20.
So
I know.
The bigger problem isn't that they were hypnotized. The bigger problem is that they were underaged.
Well, yeah. But also, when you're 14 and you're like, a superstar wants to be my boyfriend, the lesser of us would be starstruck and start to fall for everything he's telling us.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah. There are so many different angles to this. I don't think we could even bring them in, all of them into The Grass is Greener. There are just too many here.
No, I wouldn't even touch that.
That's just...
No, with a 10-foot pole. Nope.
No. Maybe the 5th or 6th series, but not this one. No.
Yeah, not the first season.
Well, it's a great example of really, really attracting what you really, really don't want by thinking that you want it.
Well, that's the thing. He got away with it for so many years because he attracted what he did want and didn't think any consequences would become of him.
That's a theme that's been playing up a lot over the last 5 or 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot. Like a lot of people in that space, into that mindset. And finding out that it doesn't actually play out that way is probably something of a shock, I would think.
Right. Yeah, because now here he is almost in his 50s and just getting in trouble for it. I mean, he's been to court before, but nothing ever stuck.
Yeah. But nevertheless, it just reinforces for me how many people could benefit from learning what the law of attraction is about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
It really does make a difference to know how stuff happens in life.
Right.
Because I know until you're really aware of how it works, it just seems like kind of random, objects colliding in space kind of a thing.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason in the way most of us understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Having that kind of understanding, I don't know, maybe I can't speak for everybody, but I'll speak for myself and sounds like for you as well, that it really does make a difference when you know.
It definitely does. Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's turning an upside down world right again. Just
to
understand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Things start to make sense. Things start to work the way.
This reminds me of a scene in Grey's Anatomy. It's a famous scene. There was a lesbian character who didn't know she was a lesbian until she got with another lesbian, and then they got together, and then she woke up the next morning and realized, she's like, this is like the time that I realized I needed glasses. Everything became so clear. You are my green leaf. And I was like, oh, that's so cute, but kind of creepy. Okay.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah. She's like, I've been staring at green lumps all my life, and now I can see that they're leaves. And I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Well, I can sort of, I kind of identify with that, because I remember when I was like 6 years old, got my first pair of glasses, and for the first time in my life, I could see more clearly than I had ever seen before.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's often portrayed of, like there's this big shock that goes on. There was no shock. What happened was, I put them on, and I look around, and I'm taking about 5 to 10 minutes to get used to everything coming into focus.
Okay.
Because it didn't come into focus right away, thus proving how powerful our minds are. My mind was convinced that everything was going to be what I thought was normal at that time, but which I would now call blurry.
Right.
And blurry was the normal state. And now all of a sudden stuff is no longer becoming blurry. So I just did a lot of looking around like, what's going on here? I don't quite understand. I mean, I did. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. But how old were you at the time?
6 years old.
See, there's a big difference, because I was 34 when I got my glasses. And I was
there's a slight difference there.
I can see! I was like, Mom, look at that stop sign. It says stop.
It says stop, right?
I was like, oh, that's the name of our street. Look at that. I was like, I can see, I can't see. I can see, I can't see.
Yeah.
Totally different experience.
Yeah, I can understand. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't like that at all. It was just more of a discovery thing. I kind of equate it to some of the YouTube and other presentations I've seen of people who are hooked up to these new pieces of equipment that help the deaf to hear for the first time, and the reactions that they experience. And it's varied what the reactions are. Some people find it to be painful. Some people find it to be exciting.
Yeah.
Some people are just kind of dumbfounded by the whole thing.
Right.
It's like a wide range.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think everybody loves it the best when somebody gets so excited their tears start forming.
Yeah.
They can
those get me every time.
They can hear their mom's voice for the first time or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Everybody could identify with that one. But that's not the only reaction. And it, once again, points to how everyone's, I'll call it, their law of attraction experience is a different experience in the same kind of event. Because everybody comes at it from a different perspective.
Exactly. It's all about perspective.
Yeah, that perspective's everything. So, have you ever had an event like that? Not, well, you had the glasses. You just described that one.
I actually did have an event like that, but I was on the opposite side of it, but it still made me tear up because it was like watching the live video. Okay. So I volunteer for an app that helps blind people. Oh. So it uses our video cameras so we can communicate. So like a blind person will call me on the app, and I can see whatever they can see, whatever they're pointing their phone at. So they're like, oh, so this person's using the app for the first time, called me, and she's like, so how does this work? And I explained to her, I was like, point the phone to whatever you want me to read or see or, whatever you want me to do, and ask me questions about whatever. And she's like, well, I'm trying this out for my mother. She's newly blind. And I was just like, oh my God, this is great. And the daughter was like, I'm so glad that there's a thing like this. Oh, I felt so bad leaving her by herself, but now she can just call you anytime. I was like, anytime. And she's like, can you read this? And I thought, yeah, I read that. She's like, this is so amazing. And she started crying. So I started crying. I was like, yeah, but it makes you feel good. You're helping the world a little bit.
Yeah. I hadn't heard of that one, but that's an interesting thing. Basically,
yes.
Seeing eye people is what you are. You're a seeing eye person.
I'm a seeing eye person, yes.
Yeah. Which is a little bit more than what a seeing eye dog can do. The seeing eye dog will keep you from running into objects, but you can actually explain what the object is and what it's doing and what colors it has and what shape it is and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's it like to work with somebody who has been through the loss of eyesight? Because that's really different from somebody who was born blind.
I actually don't know because the conversations are really quick. It's, can you read this? Can you read this to me? Or what does this appointment say? What time am I supposed to be there? Or what's in front of me? And then it's like, okay, have a nice day. That's all I get.
Really quick. Okay. So
it's like being a paramedic. You get to bring the patient in,
right,
but you don't get to see what happens to them once they're in the hospital.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess that's still satisfying to you.
It is very satisfying. It is.
What about it is?
Well, just knowing that I'm still helping people, even though I don't physically go out and volunteer, I can still help people from the privacy of my own home.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, that does fit you well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jeffrey is, of course, jumping in and talking about these sticky situations. He says, so a sticky situation is one in which we are clearly not in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, do sticky situations come as a result of taking an action while way out of alignment?
Oh.
What do you think?
That sounds like a fact. But Jeffrey's usually right. So I say usually, not always. But because none of us are always right, unless you're me. But, you know.
I was going to say it sounded like a backhanded compliment there, but okay.
It can be sometimes, but not usually. I come with the purest of hearts.
Okay. Well, I mean, on the one hand, I guess I would say that being out of alignment is a relative thing. On the other hand, it's kind of binary. You either are in alignment or you're not. You know, so does it really make sense to say that you're way out of alignment? I mean, if you're out of alignment, you're out of alignment in one sense.
Yeah.
But in another sense, I guess there are sort of degrees to alignment because, you know, for instance, feeling okay is certainly not as great as feeling wonderful and not nearly as bad as feeling depressed, you know, and those are all degrees of alignment. So in that sense.
I guess.
Yeah.
I agree with your initial statement where you're either in alignment or not.
Well, I guess the reason I mentioned that is that it makes it easier to answer the question, I think, if we treat it as a binary, if we treat it as black and white rather than as a grays. Mm-hmm. Because if we answer it in terms of black and white, well, then, yeah, clearly the answer is yes. Do sticky situations come as a result of taking an action while out of alignment? Take the word way out. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, about the only way I can think of that you could have a sticky situation coming while you're in alignment is if you like sticky situations and you do it consciously.
That's why all my reality show episodes are so good. But they're out there. They're not in here. That's the difference.
Well, it's also the difference of you are successfully externalizing them. You are not allowing them to become internal.
Right. I was close, though. I was talking to this guy who apparently had been to prison before and started talking to me, and he was like, yeah, I was almost on this reality show, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, which reality show? Because I pretty much watch all of them. And he was like, yeah, I was talking to this girl in prison, and I was almost on Love After Lockup. I was like, stop it right there. That is like my all-time favorite reality show. Stop it. He was like, yeah, I was almost on it. I was like, okay, we can't talk anymore, but this is hilarious.
Okay, well, that's an interesting way to sort friends, but...
Yeah. Well, I just like, if you've been to prison and there's a chance you could go back, like, I'm not about to be on the phone with you every other day, be like, yeah, I can't wait till you get out. That's just not how I see myself living my life. So, no.
Understandable, yeah.
Yeah. It's just my personal preference, not to date prison people.
I can certainly empathize with that, yeah.
But back to what you originally said, being in alignment or out of alignment, but you also said there's degrees, but I think you're confusing the degrees with the level of vibration as you're in or out of alignment.
Well, I believe that vibration is the measurement of alignment. High vibration is alignment, low vibration is not aligned.
I see it as two separate things, though. I see it like this, like a vertical graph or something.
Okay.
Like, I feel like you're either, like, question 1, are you in alignment or out of alignment? Question 2, how high are you vibrating on these alignment levels? That's how it works in my head.
You can make an argument that way. I can see that.
Yeah.
You know, that's the there are grays argument, and you know there are grays. I think probably it comes down to how are you trying to use the concept. If you're using the concept on something where the binary approach works, probably better off sticking binary rather than going to the gray area. But if you're addressing something where the gray area works better, then go with that example. I mean,
I say go with whatever flow works.
It's all metaphors anyway.
Right.
It's all these models that we've created representing what's actually going on. So, go with the model that works. Whichever one is the best way to express it, that's the best way to express it. That's the way
exactly.
Yeah. That's why I like to dabble in different models. I mean, I'm a big Abraham fan, but I also like looking at Neville Goddard, and from way back I was a Dale Carnegie fan, and others. Just a lot of different people with different perspectives, and they've all had great things to contribute. The one that always confused me the most was Napoleon Hill. I mean, I get him now.
I don't know who that is.
Think and Grow Rich was his book. And what he did was, back in the 1920s, 1930s, at the suggestion of Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, his suggestion was go interview famous people. You can start with me. And learn about, well, he was, Andrew Carnegie.
I know, but I just love the way you said it.
Well, I don't know that he exactly said it that way. I'm, shortening the tale a bit.
It would have been great if he did.
I can't rule it out either. But... he said just interview a bunch of people and find out what it is, what are the factors that make people successful, so that people, you can actually write a book and teach people, here's what it takes to become wealthy. And that was the basis for Think and Grow Rich. So literally he interviewed, 20, 30, 40, 50 different famous people, many of whom we know today. Some of them were only famous at the time, but many of them, like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford. I mean, he interviewed a lot of very famous, successful people to try to kind of reduce down to the bare bones. What is it that makes people successful? Right. And the book that he wrote was essentially an early precursor of law of attraction. The essential ideas were that successful people believe they're successful.
And this is, what did you say, Nicholas Hill?
Napoleon Hill, yeah. Yeah, so he is the emperor of these things. That's the best way to remember it. The Emperor Napoleon.
I got it.
Well, either that or else you have to come up with something off of Blown Apart, and I don't really like to go there. So.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, Napoleon Hill, first of all, benefited greatly from doing those interviews. In fact, Napoleon Hill's experience doing those interviews, which he wrote about to some extent in his book, and also told about in interviews that he gave at that time to magazines and so forth, he really waxed poetic, so to speak, about how great it was to talk to all these people. And he influenced me to do the podcast because I figured, well, if I can talk to all these really interesting people, I didn't know I didn't really think in terms of getting, Steve Jobs in front of my screen. I didn't expect that. But if I could just talk to interesting people, I would benefit from it.
Yeah.
And it's true. It really has worked out that way. So,
that's true.
I mean, that was probably the biggest influence he and his book had on me, was just wanting to talk to other people to get better perspectives, and that kind of drove LOA Today.
Cool.
Yeah.
But and that's how LOA Today was born.
That's a big part of it. Now, the hard part about Napoleon is, unlike The Secret or Abraham Hicks or Neville Goddard or some of these others, the way he presented the principles was very indirect and very vague. So you had to, in fact, he often said, if you understand what I'm getting at, I don't have to explain this to you. It was that kind of a
wow. Okay.
Yeah, and if you don't understand it, then there's nothing I can say that's going to help you. It was that kind of an attitude.
Damn.
And part of it, I gather, I don't know this for sure, but I gather that part of it was because his publisher wouldn't publish it if he got too explicit with all this woo-woo stuff.
Yep. Probably.
It was just a little bit too far out there for a lot of people at that time. So, but even so, I would have liked it if he'd been a little bit more explicit. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, this is how you do it. There was no how-to. There was no step A, step B, step C.
That's how you are. You like things straightforward and to the point. So
I do. There's a blunt side to me.
Right.
I am completely unashamed about it. I think it's really very important to be that clear. To me,
I agree.
You don't have clarity unless you have that kind of bluntness.
Yep. Yep, I agree.
And anyone who tries to dance around it really isn't clear with themselves,
Yeah.
let alone anybody else.
I don't dance. I don't beat around bushes. I just straight into the point.
Well, I dance. I just don't do it when I'm describing stuff.
Same.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
I've been known to cut a rug or two.
Cut a rug? Oh, my God.
You forget I'm an old soul.
But that phrase is even older than I am. I mean,
yeah, it is.
That's been around for a while.
Yep.
That's going back, to your mother's time. I mean, that's an old one.
Yep.
Cut a rug. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
I suddenly feel much younger. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. The whole concept of running into difficulties that we set up for ourselves is the one that I think gets the least amount of attention. Interestingly enough, people will often, we'll see this on Facebook, right? Because Facebook seems to be the go-to place these days for people to talk about LOA. Mm-hmm. And, people will not hesitate to post about this thing that they're having a problem with and what's the LOA solution and all that kind of thing. And yet, despite all of that, isn't it interesting how not everyone, a vast majority of the people who post and of the people who respond will do so with this hidden idea that we can't ever talk about the stuff that we attract to ourselves that we don't like. We must only talk about the things that we want to attract that we do like.
Right, but it goes both ways.
Well, it does go both ways.
Right.
And that's why I think your topic is actually a good one in general, and perhaps good for today too, simply because it needs to be talked about more.
Yeah, yep, agreed.
We need to face up to what it is, because I don't see how you can actually learn this stuff unless you recognize that you're attracting both ways, both the stuff.
Yeah, there's two sides to the coin, man.
I mean, how can you learn that? People are trying to.
They are.
And they're failing.
Yeah. Well, that's the people that only watch, they don't do all the work. They're just like, oh, okay, I watched the first half of The Secret. I'm good. How do I get money?
How do I get money, right?
Yeah.
And usually they're the ones who are posting something along the lines of, I've been doing my affirmations, I've been, doing my mirror work and so forth, and nothing's ever showing up except I'm getting 111222444. What's that all about?
I know, right? Somebody said that one day, and I just said, it means it's 11:11 p.m.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I gave a smart aleck answer along that line. Somebody said, why do I keep seeing 4:20? And then I answered, because you're only looking at the clock twice a day. I mean, it's just really simple.
That's a good one. I like that. Check your phone more than twice. It's okay.
That actually touches on something else too. Now there's a legitimate side to this, to the idea of getting signs. Signs, often described as signs from the universe or signs from inner being, which is probably a little bit more accurate. More to the point, I think it's really about getting in touch with ourselves internally and just being able to develop that connection. And as we do that, certain signals start to emerge and get seen out in the external world, and if we can draw connections, then they're meaningful.
Right.
The part that kind of gets to me is when people take that model and turn it into, well, I just saw this interesting combination. What does it mean? and they're completely missing the point. The point isn't for somebody else to explain to them what it means.
Right. No, it means whatever you want it to mean.
Well, it means whatever it means to you. The whole point here is to explore internally.
Right.
That's why we even look at signs. That's the whole thing. It's developing that connection. So asking somebody else to tell you what your meaning is for your sign is kind of like asking them to tell you what your internal connection is to yourself.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Well, there are those people that have posted this chart of all the numbers, 111, 222, and what they mean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, if you say so. Personally, I'm more of a, okay, give me a sign if a green train goes by, that means that I deserve chicken today. Like that, I'm that type of person. And if I don't see green train, I'm not having chicken. Mm-hmm. However, if I go to a hobby shop and see a green train, I'm having chicken.
Mm-hmm. You'd be an excellent coder-decoder because that's what codes are all about. Ciphers are about, I'm going to replace this letter with that letter, direct substitutions. Codes are where you see the letter P and it means a ball of wax. There's no association,
You know what? When I watch those type of shows, I am really good at that.
Well, that's good. You could actually make a lot of money at, breaking codes.
Yeah, if I applied myself, but I won't. I don't want to. Sounds like math. I'm not doing it.
Well, especially since you can be writing the grass is greener. It's much more fun for you anyway. So
I'm a little preoccupied.
I would say. Speaking of which, I haven't asked you this in a while. Where are you at in terms of writing the future episodes? Because I know you started on episode 3, but I don't know where you're at right now.
Okay, so again, not spoiling anything. This brings us back to Tuesday. We got our wires crossed because you were thinking of doing the Trump voice as the flashback that I was talking about, but that's the dream sequence. I'm talking about the flashback to the day the twins were born.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's exactly what I'm working on right now.
Well, then I have to ask, what does Trump have to do with that, or is that just part of the wires crossed thing?
That's part of the wires crossed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Because I would hope Trump had nothing to do with it.
No. But if you ask Miguel, he'll tell you something different.
I mean, it's an interesting alternative storyline, but
yeah.
We don't want to get... Miguel's already up on this tightrope right now. We don't need to push him.
That's too messy. It's too messy.
People are saying, what is he talking about? Just listen to episode 2. You'll know exactly what he's talking about.
And then hold fast for episode 3.
Episode 3 is where it gets... We could be doing it as an LOA Today show.
Yeah, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of why some of the characters are the way they are.
Yeah, and it's going to be painful at times, but it's also going to be an awakening.
But it's a good painful. It's like when you rip the Band-Aid off,
Well,
like
actually,
it hurts. Are you one of those slow rippers?
No, I pull it off quickly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see?
But I don't think about it at all. I don't give it any energy. It's like, I don't want to even dwell on it.
Well, how much arm hair do you have? Because that makes a difference. I have a lot of arm hair, so when I'm ripping a Band-Aid off, I can't not think about it.
When I'm pulling the Band-Aid off, I have that much less arm hair.
Facts. Okay. You win on that one.
Where did that question come from?
I don't know. Where did any of our questions come from?
Yeah, I've wondered that lately, but I try not to wonder that too much.
Nah.
But getting back to the series, and this does tie into the topic being sticky situations, the messes we get ourselves into. One of the cool things about the way we've been mapping out the early episodes of the show is that each of the characters has their own sticky situations they're dealing with.
Yes.
Maybe start emerging at different places at different rates.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I like that because that really mimics what happens in life.
Yeah, it definitely does.
It's not like Thursday is emergency day.
Right.
Everybody's problem happens on Thursday. No, that's not the way it works.
No.
And
that's why the emergency room is open 24/7.
That's right, yes. And it's also why some people are able to, attract their first $10,000 on the first hit, and other people can't do it for 15 years because they're different. They got different situations.
That's true.
Different perspectives, different levels of understanding.
Everybody's different.
They're all different. Yeah, everyone is different. And those differences are key. They're really different.
Yep.
So the more that we're taking our characters in the series and showing that level of difference between characters, the more interesting the series is coming out. Plus, we have great sound effects. So I'm just saying.
Not to toot your own horn, but toot toot.
Well, I didn't make them. I'm just finding them. Well, that's not entirely true.
Well, you're putting them together to make stuff, though.
Well, actually, for episode 2, I didn't like the door closing sounds that I had before, so I went around the house with my iPhone and I started making recordings of door closing sounds.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Authenticity, man.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's like, I don't like your door closing. I'm going to make my own.
And I use the front door sound for the front door sound in the scene, and I use the interior door sound for the interior door sound closing.
Oh, this is great. Jeffrey's enjoying this right now because he loves the behind the scenes stuff.
Well, I have to agree with you because his most recent comment is, "I would rather be happy than be right." So you're right. He'd rather be happy.
You can be both.
You can, but it takes a lot of practice. I'm just saying.
I've got 36 years under my belt, and usually right and happy.
Okay. Have you ever focused on somebody, yourself or somebody else, being wrong and still feeling happy?
Somebody or myself feeling wrong. Not currently, but like thinking about the past where I have been wrong. I do focus on that sometimes, and that's just my midnight ruminating thoughts that don't let me go to sleep.
Well, see, I mentioned that because that's part of the challenge. I mean, somebody who, our topic here is people who are getting in sticky situations. That's one of the first steps toward getting into a sticky situation. If you don't know how to separate your own happiness from some dysfunctionality going on, you're going to get into that sticky situation eventually.
That's another thing with dysfunctionality is that also may include toxic people, and you need to get rid of those toxic people sometimes, no matter how close they are to you. If they're toxic, they got to go.
Yeah, although I don't get rid of them.
What do you do with them?
You
put them in a box?
Getting rid of them actually just attracts more like them. So
what I do is...
Well, that's the way it works. You focus on what you don't like, you get more of what you don't like.
I mean, but if you just cut them off and like let the whole situation go, you're not focusing on it.
The second part is the important
part.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. I forgot the second part. Thought it was included. My bad.
Well, it's also why I don't have to worry about driving them away. I just take them out of my mind. I just remove them from my thought process. And
I'm not driving. I'm not driving anyone away. I'm telling them goodbye and good riddance.
Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out.
Exactly. And then the situation, take your situation with you. Like, you and your toxicity gotta go.
Well, I was experiencing. No, this is not highly toxic or anything like that. This is very low toxicity. But I was experiencing this in the last week or so, and I've talked about it a bit on the show. With I mentioned that I had upgraded the iPhones from a really old version to a less old version. Got rid of the really, really old version. And in the process, I was running into a lot of little sticky situations that were very unpleasant and very uncomfortable and so forth. And I mentioned it because I did find myself for moments at a time getting upset about them. And then remembering that the more I get upset about them, the more they continue to happen. And so just shrugging it off, saying, well, it's going to work out whatever it works out, and just move on to something else.
Exactly.
And what's been happening is it's all been kind of, all these little, what should we call these things that we don't like that are piling up? These situations when they start to turn bad like that. These situations that were starting to turn bad started to fall apart, is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
They just kind of dissolved in front of my eyes. In ways that, when I first contemplated, well, how am I going to get rid of this? No, dissolving in front of my eyes was not one of the options.
Right. Facts. You didn't think about that. Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was willing to just shrug it off and say, well, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm just not going to give it any more attention, that it started to dissolve in front of my eyes. And that's the point. I think it's the hardest thing for people to learn when they're first learning, or even after they're relatively experienced with conscious creation. But it is the most important thing to learn, how to let go of something you don't like. Yep. So, when we're talking about something that, we were talking about right and wrong, things that we feel are right, other things that we feel are wrong. And I was asking you, well, have you ever felt happy when you were focusing on something that was wrong? And my point was, the only way to feel happy is to stop focusing on it being wrong. Which means you have to let go of it entirely. Which means you kind of have to let go of the right and wrong part.
I mean, I don't focus on the wrong part. It's part of my mantra. Things always work out for me, and I'm always right. That's it.
Well, Abraham certainly agrees with you that you
Yes.
can't get it wrong.
Yep.
You literally can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
And they also point out you'll never get it done.
I am a heavy procrastinator, I'm not going to lie. That's why I need deadlines in my life.
There was a time in my life where I was such a procrastinator that I put off procrastinating. I mean, it was just awful.
It's like I can see it coming, but I know. But it's like I can see the train coming, but I can't stop it.
It's called
not Superman. I don't have that power.
No, that's true. And yeah, no, I did deliberately put that line together, but I also did experience that exactly that way. And at the time, I was recognizing the role that I had played in that. Mm-hmm. And recognizing that, yes, I am a procrastinator, and I need to do something, and I was putting off doing something about being a procrastinator.
Well, I'm an emotional procrastinator.
Okay.
Like, I will sit here and, like, if I'm feeling a certain way about something, I'll be like, you know what, that sounds like tomorrow Alex's problem. And then I'll just go do something else. And then I won't remember the next day. I'll be like, that was yesterday Alex's problem, so it's over.
So you basically squeeze it out of existence between
Yeah.
tomorrow and yesterday. There it goes.
Yep.
It's an interesting way of dealing with now, actually. That's always been something that has kind of captured my imagination. What does now mean? Because yesterday has a whole lot of depth to it. Tomorrow has a whole lot of depth. Now is an instant.
It is.
And it's gone.
And it's always changing.
Except it continues. It's both.
Right.
It's always gone, but it's always there.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's almost like there's like little flat two-dimensional layers of slices of time that are whizzing through.
Time keeps on ticking.
But it's always the same slice, and yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, you keep focusing on that long enough, and you'll either go crazy or else you'll gain some great understanding. I don't know which, but what I do know,
I'm going to go with the crazy part.
Yeah, it can work either way. But what I do know is that it's the hardest one to grasp. So anything that kind of squeezes the past and the future into that now thing in order to make it disappear, I like that. Because, okay, there's a way I can grasp it, right?
Yeah.
I can just see it disappearing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I like to keep things simple. You're over here on a white wall doing quantum physics trying to figure it out, and I'm like, that's tomorrow Walt's problem. And now it's yesterday Walt's problem, and now it's gone.
So Alex, the cookie cutter logic king, has given you the solution to everything that you could possibly have.
You know why? Because I'm always right.
You're always right, yes.
Yep.
But you never get it done.
I do, though.
Actually, you don't, because there's always something else.
Well, that's tomorrow Alex's problem.
If it isn't one thing, it's another.
Yeah, this is how I live my life.
See, this is why I really do believe that you are in the process of leaving behind all of these various medical complaints that you've had.
I hope so.
I think you are.
Okay.
I mean, I can't say for sure because it's you, it's not me. You know,
so right.
You're the one who has the final say in the whole thing.
Oh, you're not going to manifest for me? Damn it. Now I got to go on the elevator today.
Sorry, it doesn't
start
work.
Leaving comments and no, I got to go on Change My Life group and then start bitching about it. That's what I got to do. I'm like, my friend will not manifest health for me. What do I do?
Be prepared for 150 comments saying, what are you going to him for? You should be doing it yourself. I have another question here, too. And this also fits sticky situations because it describes how people will do whatever they can to avoid facing up to the sticky situation. Mm. There are so many people who will post answers on these Facebook posts. And I'm not dissing their answers. I mean, their answers are coming from the heart, and they're trying to be helpful and so forth.
Sometimes.
It's just amazing. No, I think most of the time. But it's just amazing to me how rarely they actually answer the question.
Well, it also helps with, and I saw this on something you answered on, if people actually ask the question.
Well, there's that too. Yeah, it helps if they actually ask the question. And you're right; they often don't. And
sometimes I'm like, all right, see more. Let's see where this goes. And I'm like, what? 2-3 pages later, I just wasted my time. This didn't go anywhere.
The worst ones, the ones that I usually respond to, are the ones that saying, I need help with this thing, and then they go into all things that are wrong with it, but they never actually ask. Okay, so here's what I want to know. Answer this for me. They never ask that question.
Yeah, they're just there to vent.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But they feel like they've asked a question.
Yeah, but they didn't.
They didn't. And it's how we get ourselves into sticky situations.
Yes.
Because we don't ask ourselves the right questions.
Exactly. And not only that, now you're sitting there and you're venting, and yes, sometimes venting helps. You get it off your chest, but it only helps if you let it go. But if you're venting just to hear people's opinions, and now you're ruminating about it, you're thinking about it, and you're putting out more negativity out there because you're putting out what you're venting, and it's just, you're absorbing it, and it's too much. But so that's the thing. If you're gonna vent, let it go. Let it go into the air.
There's not much point in venting if you're going to hang on to it. That's for sure.
That's why I have that midnight rule.
The midnight rule being tomorrow and yesterday?
No. My midnight rule, when my friends come to me with issues or when I have personal issues, I'm like, all right, but I'm only allowed to bitch about it till midnight. That's it. Time's up. And sometimes with myself, I have to shorten it because I'm like, I'm so over it. Like, all right, it was only an 8-hour problem. It's fine. It's a full work shift. I'm good.
I really want to talk about episode 2 because it ties in beautifully, but I can't do that without doing spoilers. So I'll have to
no spoilers.
Until we get it out.
This is the only thing I won't spoil because it's my own show. So.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, she does have standards where these things are concerned. There is a right way and a wrong way to spoil, and she has made clear which is which in this case.
There are, yes. There are rules and levels to this stuff.
Interesting thing about rules. Rules are basically set by people who want other people to behave the way they want them to behave.
Yes, say it again for the people in the back.
No, I can't say that twice. Once is enough.
I'm just going to say hashtag listen up.
Hashtag listen up, okay.
No, I'm going to say focus up. That's what I'm going to say.
Now, what does focus up mean to you? I mean, I can think of a few meanings for that.
Focus up means pay attention and get your life together.
Okay.
It's plain and simple. You're not in alignment. You gotta get in alignment. That's what focus up means to me.
And that raises a question that a lot of people have trouble with. What does it mean to be in alignment?
Bum, bum, bum. And that's for next week's episode. Because we got promos to do and a dad joke of the day. So.
Oh, we got 7 minutes. We got Skazza time. No problem at all.
Skazza time.
Skazza time. Skazza time for dad's time. All right, so we'll do the promos, we'll do the dad joke, then we'll finish up with whatever is left over.
Okay, all right.
Promos first and foremost, and this is very important. We do want people who are listeners to become regular listeners, which means subscribing to the podcast. Now, there is one good thing. These days, most often, in order to see the first show, most often you have to subscribe long enough to see the first show. But that isn't always the case. I mean, you could actually first see a show by visiting our website, and you don't have to subscribe to anything in order to do that. That's
true.
And there are other services that allow you to do stuff. I mean, Google Play, actually, and Google Podcasts will let you listen to an episode without being a subscriber. So become a subscriber. And very simple to do. Just go to the homepage, loatoday.net, walk you through the steps up on the top of the page, and just like that, you are getting all of 5 episodes that we're doing every single week coming right to your smartphone. And we also live stream this as we're going along with the recording. We're live streaming to YouTube. And Alex, I always like to turn to you on this because you always explain it so simply, so blithely. So how does somebody...
eloquently.
Eloquent, yes, very eloquent.
So what you want to do is you take yourself down to YouTube and you punch in LOA Today podcast videos. And once you've done that, you will look for our smiling faces and you will see that. And underneath us, There is, I'm sorry, Misha Collins just wished me happy birthday.
I love how you pointed at yourself and it went beep, beep. That was
good. Yeah. That's me swiping away the message. Yes, people, do not text me during the podcast. I use my phone for the podcast. I live stream via Samsung, okay? So don't. Anyhoodle. So what you do is you hit the little red subscribe button underneath us, and to the right of it, there is a little silver bell, and you click that bell, and make sure you click all so you will always be notified when we're live.
Yeah, don't go to the wrong side. Go to the right side.
The other left.
The other left. That's right. So, okay, we got the promos done. Now we have to get the dad joke done. And you had one, I presume, on hand. Otherwise, you wouldn't have brought that topic up.
Every day. Okay, here we go. So, you know that song, Cotton Eye Joe?
Mm-hmm.
I named a big giant spider in my room Cotton Eye Joe. Mm. For 2 reasons. I need to know, where did he come from? Where did he go?
Okay. I think this one really deserves a delayed one.
Yeah, it does. Oh, man.
We're going to have to turn this into a regular thing. Alex's dad jokes. I mean, it's just got to be like part of the normal thing that we do every Tuesday.
We'll do the dad joke corner.
Dad joke corner. Yeah, okay. Send in your dad jokes to alex@loatoday.net. She'll be glad to include them on the show.
Yes.
Plus, she'll love it because that'll be a day where she doesn't have to come up with one. So she likes that, too.
Plus, it'll make you feel special. Not you, Walt, but you, the listener. Make you feel special to know that your dad joke was heard today.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'll even give you a shout-out, too.
Absolutely. Of course.
Yeah.
We got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I'm not going to say
no doubt. Absolutely. Yeah. So like I predicted, we've got 2.5 minutes left, so we can go back to what we're talking about.
Okay, what was your question? What were we talking about before?
I have no idea.
Oh, see, you're the worst. Oh, my God. Gonna get you some ginkgo biloba.
You're the one who's in charge of the hashtags. Come on.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Focus up. Focus up.
Oh,
and then we were talking about alignment.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
So going back
See,
to
it's a good thing I do these hashtags. Otherwise, we'd be lost.
How interesting, though. You turned that into, it was my fault, and now it's will be lost. I mean, like...
Just like that.
You got to be quick on this show.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go back to focus up. All right. So what does
Yep.
focus up mean to you? What is it? Okay. I mean, when you say focus up, what are you thinking?
Pay attention to the signs and things that the universe is trying to tell you around you. Because there's obviousness around you, and you're avoiding it in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So pay attention.
So borrowing from the earlier age, it's wake up and smell the coffee.
Yes.
That's focusing.
Olders.
I'll ignore that.
Wait, was it not Folgers? Was it somebody else? I thought it was Folgers. No, Folgers is, yeah, no, it is Folgers. Because then they do the whole song after.
I don't remember. I was never much of a coffee. I drank coffee for 2 years in school, and that was it, and I was done.
I drank coffee once, lost my shit, and bounced off the walls, and never again am I allowed to drink caffeine.
Yeah, the caffeine is rather strong, especially when you brew it yourself. Yeah.
No, it wasn't brewed myself. I went to Mary Lou's and got because my sister was like, you'll like coffee if you drink like an Almond Joy or something flavored. And I was like, okay. And we tried it. And I was like, never again. My whole family was like, never again.
Actually, my way of getting off of coffee and staying off of coffee was during my alcohol phase, I drank Kahlua drinks, and that'll get you off of it real quick.
I actually like Kahlua drinks, so...
I did too. That was why I was drinking them. But
yeah.
The good news is that I got to the point where I'd had them so often, I got tired of them.
Yeah, I switched from Kahlua to Bailey's, and then they had like the caramel flavor. It's turned into a whole thing. I just like fruity drinks, and anything with sugar in it is all my friend.
I just switched away from alcohol entirely. I figured that was safer.
Yeah, I guess.
And then I didn't bother to go to coffee, and,
Yeah.
So, well, we frittered away the last 2.5 minutes, but that's okay.
Thought we had scads of time.
Oh, we did. We just didn't do anything. We were going to do something, but we procrastinated, and.
And now that's Tomorrow Walt's problem.
Now it's Tomorrow Walt's problem.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we did justice to your topic, because...
I think we did.
Did we? Okay, I thought we avoided it half the show, but that's okay.
No, at least the first half we got it.
The first half we got it? Okay.
At least.
Well,
but that's how our shows are. They're tangents.
I think we'll have to do that topic more often, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed.
Just because it's something that needs more attention.
Mm-hmm.
The tricky part is going to be doing it in a way, this kind of alludes to what I talked about before, doing it in a way where we're not attracting more of it.
Right.
So it's going to mean mentioning the topic and then flipping it over to what we want instead.
Well, we'll vent it and let it go.
Okay. Well, I think we have to go for this is why we got to talk about it more. I think it's more than just letting it go. Letting it go is great. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's more beyond that. So
okay.
Let's make that part of what we talk about on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, got it.
All right. So thank you very much for bringing it up. Thank you, live streamer, especially Jeffrey. Thank you to our podcast listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye.